Hey everyone, welcome back. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for another explainer. Today, we're diving into something really fascinating: the anatomy of civic change. We're going to break down this incredible narrative of rural transformation to see exactly how everyday grassroots grievances actually evolve into political action and ultimately real community development. It's kind of like looking under the hood of democracy at the most local fundamental level. So, grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Okay, let's jump right into the core conflict with this quote. Translated from the original text, a frustrated villager says, "We need a leader who doesn't just make promises, but works." I mean, wow, right? That perfectly hits the nail on the head. It encapsulates that massive, frustrating gap we see so often between flashy political rhetoric and actual tangible results. This isn't just some casual grumbling, it's a profound statement of total disillusionment. The villagers are just done with empty words. They want action. And this one single sentence really sets the whole narrative in motion, establishing the high stakes and this deep, deep yearning for genuine leadership. To really understand why that frustration is boiling over, we need to look at Section 1, Ground Reality, the catalyst for change. Just think about these daily hardships for a second. We're not talking about abstract, high-level policy debates here. Imagine just walking out your front door during monsoon season, and it's a dangerous ordeal because the roads are completely broken. Add to that a severe, everyday scarcity of clean drinking water and schools that are constantly disrupted. For these villagers, development isn't just some political buzzword they hear on TV. It is a literal, urgent necessity for basic survival and dignity. And it's exactly at this boiling point that the dynamic totally shifts. Which brings us to Section 2, Political Intervention, Strategizing the Promises. So, the political leader arrives on the scene and instantly the energy changes. The leader says, "Your development is my biggest responsibility." It's a brilliant move, honestly. The crucial takeaway here is how masterfully this aligns the leader's very purpose for being there with the absolute most pressing needs of the voters. It's a classic political strategy, for sure, but a highly effective one. The leader isn't just offering a helping hand. They're essentially saying, "I am taking the burden of your hardships onto my own shoulders." They're actively trying to build trust and bridge that gap of disillusionment we just talked about. And look at how systematically they break that responsibility down into a concrete strategy. The leader doesn't just throw out a vague vision and hope it sticks. No, they target different demographic groups with highly tailored specific promises. For the general public, they promise the foundational stuff: paved roads, clean water, hospital upgrades. But notice how targeted it gets. For the youth, local jobs. For the farmers, modern farming facilities. For students, immediate school repairs. By segmenting the population like this and addressing their specific, localized pain points, the leader is building a massive, unbreakable coalition of support. It's like a perfectly crafted menu where everyone gets a slice of the pie. Pretty smart, right? But here's where it gets really interesting, because the villagers don't just blindly accept these promises. That leads us to Section 3, the conditional pivot, from passive voters to active stakeholders. Let's look at how the community builds on their initial grievances. The villagers actually push back and lay down their own conditional expectations. They're essentially saying, "Okay, sure, if you do this, our village will change, but here are our terms." They demand that their daughters not only get a good education, but remain safe while doing it. They specifically point out that local jobs must put a stop to the forced, heartbreaking migration of their youth to the big cities. And they demand an absolute guarantee on the infrastructure. This is a huge pivot. They are no longer just passive voters waiting around for a savior. They've become active stakeholders, drawing a line in the sand for what a modernized, self-sufficient community actually looks like to them. Recognizing this newly empowered crowd, the leader actually makes a really vital linguistic shift. In the original text, the leader steps completely away from the word wade, which means promises and, let's face it, is often seen as passive, easily broken political chatter. Instead, they make a sankalp, a pledge. And a pledge is active, it's time-bound, it's firm. By elevating their language like this, the leader is directly responding to these stakeholders, basically trying to assure them, hey, this time, the rhetoric is actually gonna match the reality. All right, this brings us to the final act of our narrative arc. Section 4, the utopian resolution, achieving change through collective effort. The source material gives us a very clear, three-step formula for how this resolution actually happens. Step 1. Active public engagement. The villagers voicing their needs and setting those firm conditions. Step 2, accountable representative action. That's the leader making a firm pledge and, crucially, following through with the actual infrastructure. When you combine those two steps, boom, You unlock step 3, assured village development. So the big takeaway here is that true development is literally never just handed down from above by some benevolent leader. It's like a giant puzzle. It absolutely requires both the public and the representative to put their pieces together and work in tandem. And honestly, nothing captures that tandem effort better than this unified declaration from the villagers at the end of the story. We will all together make our village clean, beautiful, and developed. Notice the most important word in that sentence? We. Not the leader, not the government, we. This completely showcases their shared ownership of their community's future. Their initial, deeply felt grievances have been resolved, not just because they got some new roads, but through a newly forged sense of collective agency and real community pride. So, what does this all mean on a larger scale? The text leaves us with this incredibly powerful concept of macro impact. The narrative concludes with this core message: village development means country development. It positions the micro-level success of just one single, isolated village as the absolute prerequisite for the progress of the entire nation. It's just a beautiful reminder that national progress isn't some abstract thing happening in a distant capital city somewhere, right? It is literally just the sum total of thousands of individual grassroots transformations, exactly like the one we've explored today. Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with. If village or, neighborhood or city development is the true engine of national progress, who is actually in the driver's seat? Is it just a leader's responsibility, or is it all of ours? I challenge you to look at your own community right now. What are the broken roads or dry wells in your own backyard? And more importantly, how can you pivot from being a passive observer to an active stakeholder to help fix them? Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep asking questions, keep learning, and I'll see